Vera, let's come to you then. Vera is with us. I'm so pleased Vera's joined us because, you know, Vera is um, the climate change officer in Enfield, and she has done a lot of work on the circular economy because you can tell from what she said earlier that she passionately believes in it. So tell us, Vera, what you mean by the sharing economy. You speak of the sharing economy. That, in a way, is a part of the circular economy, isn't it?
Yes, I was going to say that it it's worth outlining the difference. I think sharing economy is part of the circular economy, but it's not exactly the same. And I think the sharing economy, as it would have been the earliest manifestation would have been stuff like Airbnb and Uber and stuff like that when it wasn't what it is today, uh, basically a booking system today. But when it came out first, it was like, oh, we invented the wheel. We can tap into existing resources multiple times and underused resources. So if your car was sitting in the driveway and it wasn't being used, you could tap into the existing one and not create new. Um, but I think yeah, so it's actually the sharing economy, I would say that it helps shift from the mass consumerism, the buy more and just reusing, sharing the existing resources and shifting from having to wanting to own something um, and focus on what you want to get out of it. So, uh, as I said previously, our economy has driven us to want to own stuff, and that being the value of owning, and that's what we have to sort of get rid of, uh, um, and try and see the value in the sharing part or in the go.
Yeah,
You
okay.
wanted to say?
Yeah, I was going to say, no, I think that defines it and shows the difference very, very clearly. But what I wanted to get onto is some of the things that you're doing because they're really, really interesting. I mean, you've been working a lot on developing a tools library, haven't you? I mean, tell us about that and how that has progressed.
Yeah, so it's small scale. I mean, what Jane here is doing is much more a big scale. But I think that what the what the additional value in the things like the tool library is that it has an added social value, um, because because it builds a community, because we're using the same things, because there's and as opposed to the library of things which we did try to work with, that's I think they have a more um non-personal element to it, because you use an app, it's not a person who gives you the tool, and they don't, it's not so okay, so I'll start how we did it. We had it was very important that I had a lot of support from within the library service, and Councillor Ozadin and under the councillors were very keen on this. They were very supportive. We had some money ring fenced for the Library of Things, and we tried to make it work. The price just kept um, going up and up, and that there was no way it was going to be viable. We might have had money to finance it for 1 year, but you don't do something that like this for 1 year. It's an investment. You want to have it. Um, you want to build on it. So I started searching online. Actually, I found the Forest Recycling Project, who have set one up in Waltham Forest, and it's been working for the last 4 years. And I had a few meetings with them. They were very responsive, and we had very good communication from the start. Um, and the way they learned how to do it um, through the pandemic, and they built a community and they built volunteers and they brought together um, the community, the donations, and the skills that they also provided to the community. So, and luckily they had the capacity to expand. And yeah, so we looked into some more funding to be able to set it up for the long term, and because it's not based on a lend by lend basis, it works like a library. It's an annual membership. It's very affordable. Um, and so what we need is just the right number of members to support it. And hopefully, if we get to that, we'll open the next one to make sure that it's not just one area of the borough. Because I think what we need for these to work is to have it accessible around the borough, because it has to be local. It's local volunteers. It has to be close. Um, and yeah, that we need to have it spread out a little more.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. That has to happen. And you're also looking at, aren't you, at repair cafes? I mean, we have one in Enfield run by a charity called NYCC in Edmonton. But you've been looking at the possibility of doing others again in Palmer's Green and again in the Dugdale Centre. And I know that's work in progress, but maybe you'd like to say something about that because repair cafes have a real great use.
Yeah, it's early stages, but we started looking at this last year when we launched the revised climate action plan. Um, and everyone I talked to was very excited about it. It was evident that people want it, but between, there's a gap between actually having to launch it. Repair Cafe, by definition, it's a community thing. It's a bottom up thing. And although we are very supporting of and we'd love to help and give out the space, there's there has to be a little more incentive, especially in the beginning when you're creating that community. You have to have the skilled personnel, and that core um, volunteer group that will run it. Um, and I know from Fiona Deer, who you introduced me to, um, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work at the beginning, and that can't be without some kind of a financial incentive, because people don't have that kind of time. Um, so we've actually just recently picked it up with the Restart project. We got some funding from the North London Waste Authority, and we'll top it up from the Carbon Fund. And we're just about to start that rolling out. We have 4 locations actually. I'm not sure about the Dugdale Centre, if that will be one of them, because we have 4 libraries that we found that would be suitable. So it will be based in libraries, but it will be a pop-up, like um, once a month in each location. So hopefully we'll have it every. But that will depend on the demand and the out the uptake of volunteers.
Yeah. Okay, I know you've been working on that and developing that for some time, and I know it's all dependent on funding and trouble with local government nowadays. You've got to get grants from all sorts of different regimes, doesn't come in one block, and it's really difficult. So I know you've struggled with that, but you're doing, I know, a great job on that. But you also have some other projects. If you could just tell us briefly, because I want to get some questions in as well. You're trying to look at the circular economy as it relates to construction and fashion as well, aren't you?
Well, fashion, we have a maker space in the Ordnance Library, but I'm not really involved with that. What I am involved is, yes, we are trying to, the only large scale circular economy that we do have uh, um, the opportunity to tap into is the construction. And my colleague Rafe, about 3 years ago, or maybe even four, we created the first um, matchmaking service. It's called the Access Materials Exchange. It was the first of the kind in I think in the UK, but definitely in London. Developed a platform in which we would um, donors from a demolition site would upload materials, and others would um, others who would be interested in reusing those materials. And I'm not talking about recycling, I'm talking about reuse, because it's a distinction that has to be made. We first of all, we want to reuse in its current form without having to um, uh, make get it through a process without an extra process. So it's a platform, and essentially a matchmaking platform. It's been slowly developed, and now it's launched across London. So a lot of other boroughs have signed up to it. But in that's the most impact that we would have in terms of circular economy is um, first of all trying to discourage demolition in the first place. So in our new local plan, we will um, strive to discourage from demolition and taking a retrofit first approach. So not destroying buildings, but refurbishing them. That's the first thing that we could do. And then when we see that there's the demolition is justified, um, then not demolish, but dismantle buildings. So we could use each part as is in a different development, or in the same development on the same site, but the material reuse the materials as they are in their current form. Um, so yeah, it has its challenges because the quantities, the types of materials, the timing of when things are available and when when they're needed is really difficult to align. There's storage, there's all sorts of operational challenges with that that we're working to overcome,
Okay.
not just us.
Okay. Let me ask you the final question because I want to have about 5 or 10 minutes in case there are questions to you as well. You can't do this alone, can you? You're one climate change officer. That's all we have in Enfield, and you do a great job. And so you can't do it alone. How much do you depend upon the community to be involved in the development of something as imaginative as a circular economy?
Um, Immensely. Obviously, behavior change cannot be, dictated. Uh, it's something that in a strong community, it just spreads. But I think with with the repair cafe, that's a really good example for when it can't work without the community. So it can't work without um, that layer of people who will use it, who will fight for it, who will um, develop it. So there's only so much we can do, and we do what we can. We did find the money, we found the space, and now we're bringing in an external charity to do that engagement. Um, but without the community, things like this just don't work.